In the basketball life of Jaime Jaquez Jr., the boy they once called Jaimito, the man they now call Juan Wick, legacy and lineage are two major themes. The 6'7" chill bro bruiser was a key contributor for 4 successful seasons that added to the rich tradition at UCLA, back when Mick Cronin could still smile.
Can't call your mommy, she can't help you.
And he's a descendant in a bloodline of hoopers. Jaime's grandfather was a multi-sport athlete at Northern Arizona, and his parents, his father Jaime Sr. was a steady guard, and his mother Angela was a front court star who printed buckets and actually won Player of the Year in her conference, met at Concordia University in Irvine, California. Jaime is also the latest overlooked and undervalued shimmering gem to be unearthed by the Miami Heat, who picked him at the 17th spot in the 2023 NBA Draft. The Heat in the post-Heatles era haven't bottomed out and thus haven't depended heavily on the draft. In the past 10 drafts, they've picked 7 players, and their slugging percentage has been pretty good. Heat culture as a phrase has undoubtedly hit meme status, to the point where it can be hard to know what the hell it even means at times. But as an idea, it's clear that the team continues to lean in and stay committed to the bit. Their bold-faced insistence to never say die, especially when you measure their repeated recent successes, makes it hard to blame them. It's a brazen, rigid belief in rigid accountability for the smallest competitive details, and that trickles down from the top. Aside from his ability as a player, Jaime's alignment with that philosophy set him up to hit the ground running and contribute to a veteran team immediately. Through 39 games, Jaquez is averaging 14 points, 2.7 assists, and 3.9 rebounds per outing, while shooting 35.3% from 3 and 60% true shooting overall. I also find it fascinating that among all players, not just rookies, Jaime is 4th in the entire NBA in fourth quarter minutes per game.
Jaime played 4 years of high-level college basketball and big-time tournament games, and if he didn't play well, they didn't win. There's a responsibility that he learned early on from that. He also learned how to play a role his first 2 years when he was like the afterthought his freshman year, third, fourth option his second year.
On both offense and defense, Jaquez's game is a fascinating blend of the subtle and not so subtle, of highly developed off-ball feel, and of imposing physicality with sharp technique on it. Entering the league at almost 22 years old, he's an older rookie, but Jaquez has always had this Paul Pierce-esque old man game, this baked-in maturity that belies his years. When talking about the inspirations that grew and crystallized within his offensive game, Jaquez has given us a few tea leaves. He stated in the past that he worked out daily with his dad, Jaime Sr., a much smaller human being that actually played point guard at the college level, and one could also assume that this mimicked, quick-read feel shows up in what he does with and without the ball. It's visible in the simple passes that he makes, sharp entries, alert inside-out passes that flip the floor, drop-offs to cutters, but Jaime the Younger has melded with Miami's stars because of what he's able to do without the ball. He's frequently the trigger man for Miami's offense, while only occasionally acting as its focal point. And small details go a long way on this front. He might time a cut and off-ball screen perfectly to take the strong side helper out of a play, or sneak behind his man at the perfect time the moment their eyes linger on a teammate turning the corner in a ball screen. But as a spacer, at this point, as a shooter, Jaquez is like a pilot with a license to operate under clear conditions. The cloudier it is, the less likely he is to let it fly. If he's catching and shooting with some space, he's exceeded expectations to this point. He's hit on 44.9% of his 69 uncontested threes, but only 21.4% of 33 contested attempts. Hardly any of his jump shot offense comes after more than a single dribble, but in just a few months, I think his posture and balance when shooting the ball have come a long way. Miami's player development, in particular their shooting program under the guru Rob Fodor, the man who studied cats.
I studied cats.
These improvements were pretty predictable. When he's creating for himself, Jaime's back to the basket game is his preference. In that mode, his footwork is exacting. His use of weight is very aggressive and his angling is clever. In fact, the more you watch the tape of his mid-post scoring bag, the clearer a certain pattern becomes. Left shoulder spin that goes to the right hand and scores. Okay, cool, not unusual. Right slot catch and face up, shot fake and a drive to the basket for a reverse. Very nice, but still we've seen it. Similar play here, left slot catch, similar up fake that Norm Powell doesn't bite on. Lefty drive with a right shoulder bump into a fade. All right, this is ringing a bell. Self-created right block post touch, bump, right shoulder spin and wait a minute. Right side drive rolls into a post up, left head and shoulder fake, turns right shoulder and then shot fake, steps through. The Kobe post bag, which is actually actually MJ's, but we'll keep it moving, has become a fairly common part of the basketball dictionary of moves. But this is a pretty blatant recreation, and for a SoCal kid who grew up in the 2010s, this is not difficult to imagine. I found myself belly laughing at the sheer swagginess in the way that he attacks some of these matchups against established NBA players. He's like Miss Trunchbull stalking the playground for someone to pick on.
Fresh meat.
Imagine being James Harden and getting cooked by the teacher, and then again, a decade later, by the acolyte. Post-game has fallen in and out of fashion over the years, but it's a fun wrinkle for a spot-up player in today's game. And mark my words, this is the kind of thing in doses that Miami will be able to exploit in a playoff scenario. As soon as this year, as opponents try to put faster or smaller lineups on the floor, Jaquez will be able to target vulnerable post defenders. And imagine if they play Cleveland as they are projected to as of this day, with their pair of small guards in the first round. That could be interesting. Defensively, Jaquez is not the type to fly in off the top rope and erase a mistake by a teammate or dominate in general with his twitchiness, although he is capable of being disruptive. He's sturdy and attentive when guarding on and off the ball, choosing his battles and wagers well so that he doesn't get himself caught in a bad position. He's great at getting his hands in the cookie jar without getting caught. I do grant you, if a bigger ISO score takes him into the mid-range, he's not typically going to explode off the floor or wow anyone with his ability to close gaps. But at the end of the day, Miami is a team that likes to tinker and toggle between different types of zones, heavy with concepts like peel switching, and those schemes call for twitchy, discerning eyes. And Jaime answers that call. Even as one of his biggest proponents, I admit that I did not expect his transition to the NBA to be this seamless. Lately, I've been asking different questions. The main one being, what can we safely rule out for this guy? A low-waist player who's becoming a dependable floor spacer? Someone who adds secondary and post-up scoring with playmaking mixed in? Someone who strengthens a defensive scheme? Is it totally out of the question that he could become a top 50-ish player? He's a good athlete, but Jaquez was never going to dazzle anyone with his athletic measurables. To fully appreciate him, a person would have to watch him function on a basketball team, in a basketball game, to observe how he elevates the players around him and adds value. It's a radical thought. And when this stuff continues to happen, you have to sit back and wonder how year after year evaluators and teams alike get so blinded by physical tools and glimpses of could be, might be, on-ball talent that they miss a sure thing that's right in front of them.
I've thought about it, and my thing is this. Andy's really hot. And don't get me wrong, you're cute too, but Andy is like cut.
This is how players like Tyrese Halliburton and Jalen Williams both fall to 12, or how Alperen Şengün falls to 16. This is how Desmond Bane falls to 30. It's how Kevin McCullough might get overlooked this year. Just a heads up on that one. It's how Jaime Jaquez, someone eager to learn and eager to kick some ass, falls to 17. So will they ever learn? It's hard to say, but you can bet that the Miami Heat hope that they never do. Let me know if you agree.